Am I the asshole for not naming my son after my ex husband? Okay, let me explain. It's going to be a long story. Let's start from the beginning. So, 27 female at the time, and let's call him James, 31 male. We'd been talking since I was 16 on MySpace. I know we started dating when I was 21. We moved in together when I was 22 and had our first child when I was 24. Got married at 25, separated at 26, divorced at 27. I know it's a lot, and if you guys want to hear more about it, let me know. Okay, so we got divorced when I was 27, but we kind of got back together thinking things would be different because of our daughter. I didn't want her to grow up in a broken home because I didn't have my mom and dad growing up. I was raised by my grandpa, my dad's dad, which I miss so much. Rest in peace. I don't know what I was thinking. Shake my head. So the divorce was finalized in August of 2017. Got pregnant in December. Things were going okay for the most part. This is where things started to get weird. So one day I was on the phone talking to James, and he was talking weird. Like, you know, when you've known someone for so long and you can tell that something's up. Yeah, that feeling. So I left work and drove to his place. When I got there, I parked my car and I saw a black Nissan parked in front of his condo. I just took a picture of the car and license plate and left. I called him later and asked him, did he have any company? He said no. It probably was a neighbor using his parking spot because they know he doesn't use it. Weird, but okay, I'll let it go. I looked up the license plate to see who it was registered to, and I kept that to myself. And one day, while I was over at his place, he fell asleep. Guess who called? Let's call her Stacy. I answered the phone and she asked to speak to him, and I told her he's sleeping. She hung up. I was still laying next to him watching TV. I didn't say anything to him about Stacy calling, and 20 minutes later, I hear someone banging on the front door. I asked who's that, and he said, oh, probably my realtor. I looked at him and said, why would your realtor be banging like the police? So I went downstairs and opened the blinds, and she was in shock. She knew of me as the mother of his daughter and the ex-wife, but failed to tell her that I was carrying his son, and she asked me if I was pregnant with his child. I looked at her and shook my head yes. She looked furious, and she demanded him to come outside and explain himself. But he never did, so eventually she left. Then I had to leave to go get our daughter from school. I went home crying. Didn't talk to him for a couple days. Then when we finally spoke, he told me he had broken up with her, but she didn't want to let him go. But now that she saw me pregnant, she'd stopped talking to him, and now it's just me and him. Like an idiot, I believed him. But one day while at work, I felt uneasy, like something was wrong, so I left work. Little early, saw the same black Nissan parked in front of his condo. Forgot to say, I can be a little crazy. My biggest pet peeve is when someone I'm with lies, and I had to find out the truth. So whatever happens, that's on you and your fault. I'm back to the story. Saw the car, I called him, no answer. I can see his bedroom lights on, so I called about 10 times. He keeps sending me to voicemail. So at the time, I was driving my dad's car. He's a truck driver, so he had a spare microwave in the trunk. So I took it out so I could stand on it, so I could jump the fence. Mind you, I'm 4 months pregnant. Okay, I get it. I understand the vibe when you say you can get a little crazy. Yeah, using a microwave to jump over a fence. That's a new one on me. Now, mind you, I'm 4 months pregnant. So after jumping the gate, I started banging on the door. When he came down and opened the door, I pushed it so hard the doorknob made a hole in the wall. I started yelling and screaming. Then Stacy had the nerve to come downstairs and say, how did she get in? All I saw was red. I started going after her. She locked herself in the room, scared, and he ended up dragging me out of his place and locked the door. After finally getting myself up from the floor, I went home and I told myself, I'm done. For real this time. Days later, he texted me like nothing had happened. And when I mentioned it, he acted like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. So I dropped it to move on, but I told myself I deserve better than this. So things was good after that because I stopped caring about who he's dealing with. My baby was more important. Were you still messing with him? So let's jump to July. I'm at work and my boss said I need to go to the hospital to get checked out because I looked bloated. So I listened to her and went in. The nurse was taking my blood pressure and she had a look on her face and I asked what's wrong. She said, "How do you feel?" I told her my head feels a little funny, but I'm fine. So she told me I have preeclampsia. My blood pressure was 190 over 103. So I had to stay overnight to be monitored. So I called my ex to let him know what was going on. And he said he was out with his best friend at some game event, which was a lie. He was on a date with Stacy. So I called my mom to let her know I'm okay. They're just going to keep me for the night. But my blood pressure kept going up. And my doctor said that they were going to have to do an emergency C-section. I was scared. I called my mom crying. I didn't know what to expect because when I gave birth to my daughter, I had a natural birth. No epidural, pushed her out in like 10 minutes. So yes, I was scared. And thank goodness for my mom. She came to the hospital before they took me for the epidural. And I was crying because I thought things were going to be better with us this time around. But I was being delulu. A month before, I was talking to my mom about my baby's name and told her I really don't want to name my son after a narcissistic boy because a real man doesn't put hands on women. So my mom came up with the idea of naming him after my granddad, my mom's dad. He died when I was a baby, but she told me he was a great man, so we agreed on naming him Nicholas. His real name, by the way. So, C-section happened. He was born 2 months early. He was a preemie. He was only 2 pounds. So my ex came to the hospital the next day. Mind you, I'm still drugged up from all the meds and have had zero energy to argue. He came in, said hi, then looked at the board and asked what was the baby's name. I told him, it's on the board. He said, this isn't the name we agreed on. And I just looked at him. Then he started yelling at me, calling me names. The nurse came into the room and told him to leave. All I could do was cry. Then he proceeded to text me, demanding me to change his name or he won't be signing the birth certificate. And I told him I will not be changing his name. He deserves to have his own name, not be a junior, because you don't deserve to have my child named after you. The whole pregnancy, he was denying that he was the father to my son. So am I the asshole? Nope, you are not. He's an asshole, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, granted, I know you tried again and that didn't work. I don't understand after you didn't find Stacy there the first time that you weren't done. There should have not been any repeated Stacys, but you allowed it to happen. I will say you at least ended it in the right way. I don't think I'd want my child named after a narcissistic cheater piece of shit, but that's just me. So glad you went about it the way you did. I love the fact that he learned it from the board on the wall because he couldn't find the time to get there, right? He couldn't find the time to support you, could he? No, because he was too busy supporting his tripod inside of Stacy.